Hi again, Hillary Zalman, your real estate and litigation attorney and landlord-tenant attorney for South Florida. Here on this August 26, 2020, it's hot and sunny here in Florida. I have friends up north who are already complaining that it's getting cold. I'm very confused being down here. But welcome again to Boca's Briefcase, sponsored by the Boca Raton Tribune. Thank them so much for bringing on special guests each week to let us know what's going on here in South Florida. If you like what you see, follow them, subscribe. They're at Boca Tribune everywhere, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. They're all over the internet. So definitely follow them. And I just want to give you a sneak peek of next week. So next week, we have guests coming on from, I don't even know which countries. We've got France, we've got the UK, I think Canada, a number of guests from around the world that are going to talk about how coronavirus has affected their life and business, personal, even dating to family to children in all the different countries. So we're going to get an idea of what a snapshot is right now in August in different countries. So I think that's going to be really fun next week. But this week we have amazing, wonderful guests to talk to, both with growing, beautiful families. I'll start first with Philip Snyder. He's an attorney here in South Florida. I've worked with him. He's helped my family. He's helped my colleagues. Bow down. He's a former prosecutor, been practicing for over 16 years. One of the partners of Lyon, Snyder, and Collins. It's your first name. And we're so happy that you're taking time out to share some valuable information today on personal injury law. We also have our second guest, Dr. Todd Rodman. And he is the owner of Sports Chiropractic and Natural Health Solutions. What is really cool, and you should tell us about this, you've been the chiropractor for FAU Athletics for over a decade. So that's really cool. And he's a board certified sports chiropractor. So thank you for being here. And I think your sound's cracking a little bit. It sounds like making popcorn.
Sounds like he's cracking a bag.
Yeah, you're cracking a bag. That's one of the questions I'm going to ask you is about cracking. But anyway,
if your back sounds like that when you're getting cracking, you're in trouble.
You can mute it if you want when you're not speaking. Just press mute at the bottom left, and that'll work for now. Or Anna will mute you. So we're really excited. So what we want to talk about and jump in today, there's a lot of change going on personal injury law and just different opinions. But what we want to focus on is just if you're here in South Florida, which is notorious for bad driving between seniors and teenagers and tourists, I want to try to get to recommendations on what are the first 5 things someone should do if they get into a car accident. And we've got the advice of both an attorney and a doctor, so a chiropractor. So let's get right into it. I'll start with you, Phil, because Dr. Todd's making popcorn. So if you're on the road, car accident, you get hit or you hit someone, in your opinion, what are the first steps you need to do?
All right. The first thing you should do is you should check to see if you're okay. Oftentimes after a car crash, your body is in complete shock and you have to almost diagnose quickly, okay, do I need emergent medical treatment? So the first thing you do in every case is you call 911. The police will come out. They will ask you, do you need medical treatment? If you think you need medical treatment, go to the hospital, especially if you feel you have a head injury or something with double vision or blurry vision, you're throwing up, you have a concussion, go to the hospital. Your auto insurance coverage through your PIP is going to pay for that treatment. So oftentimes I'll have clients that say, well, Phil, I didn't go to the hospital because I know the hospital bills are high. And I get it. Hospital bills can be super high. Your auto insurance will cover that. The second thing you should do is get out of the car and take pictures. Take pictures of the property damage. The reason being is that you're going to need that information in the event that litigation arises. But equally as important, in South Florida, a lot of people will get out of the car, assess the damage, and they're gone. They will take off before the police arrive. So you have to take pictures of not only your car, but their car, get the license plate number, get the VIN number, so in the event they take off, someone can track them down.
Before you get to point 3, I have questions on point 1 and 2. On 1, I was in a car accident years ago, and I remember I was young. I was too afraid to go to the hospital. But the next day, that whiplash, that feeling, that terrible feeling came in. So is the recommendation still carry over to the next day if you don't go the first day? What's your opinion on that?
So this is a question that also is going to be good for Dr. Todd, but very surprisingly to most, oftentimes at the crash scene, I will get a call from a client that says, you know what, I felt fine. I felt okay. And the reason being is you're so tense, you're so tight, and you're so concerned about, oh God, I got my car, it's damaged. What am I going to do? Am I going to get my kids to school? How am I going to get to work? What am I going to do? And you go to bed that night, you have a glass of scotch, you wake up the next day and you go, oh my goodness gracious, where did this come from? And
a glass of scotch.
I just
imagine in a row with slippers and you're having your scotch. You're like, my back's starting to hurt.
Dr. Todd can attest this. Well, I would say on average, 24 to 72 hours after the crash is when we'll get calls from clients. And they'll all say the same thing. What happened? You know, I was fine yesterday and my neck's hurting. And I'm like, well, that's because of the car crash. So that is very, very common to have a delayed pain, delayed reaction. And that's why it's important typically to make sure you see either someone from the hospital or make an appointment with a chiropractor to get checked out to make sure everything's okay.
And the second point where you had to take pictures and you use your phone, does that also cover, should you take pictures of the street signs, the scene, or you know, like some far back pictures?
The more information you have, the better.
Okay.
Oftentimes people will take pictures, and I'll give you an example. They'll be like, oh, there's the property damage. And they'll go, yeah, 2 inches away. I'm like, what is that? You know, so take it from far away, take it from different angles, take it from up, take it from down, look at the lighting, look at the, you know, oftentimes someone will call and say, well, the light was red. And the other side will say, well, the light wasn't circling through. Take a pictures of the stoplights. The more information you have, the better, because there are situations where even in clear cases of clear liability, the other side will say something to the contrary. Oh, he stopped short. Oh, the light was red. Oh, there was a tree blocking my vision. Oh, there was a mystery red car. So the more information you have, the better. You have your cell phone on you, just take some pictures.
Right. And the big one is, and people are like, oh, maybe it's not a big crash. I don't need to call the police. But then that's your witness, and it's normal. The police expect to be called. That's what I've learned as well. They expect it. This is part of the procedure. They
expect to be called. And let me tell you this, again, something that Todd could attest to. We've had people in monster crashes, monster, jaws of life type crashes that in a week they're fine. They're fine. We've had other people who you can't even see the property damage where they're requiring fusions and distances. You don't know. Everybody's body reacts differently. Sometimes it's as simple as whether you're holding your hand on the steering wheel or your hand is below, whether you're looking left or whether you're looking right, whether your shoulder hits the door handle or not, whether you're driving in a truck with a hitch or you're driving in a Honda Accord. You don't know. So it's better to get checked out immediately. Your auto insurance is going to pay for it regardless. It's like insurance. You know,
right.
If you're not okay, you're now memorializing your treatment and you're getting it.
So we've got step 1, call the police. Step 2, or that when also, if you have to go to the hospital, go to the hospital. Step 3, take pictures. And I guess before we go, if you have more steps, maybe I should ask Dr. Todd real quick if you want to have any input there on the first couple steps, because people might be coming to see you right away, or is there a time frame that they must come see you if they want to recover through insurance or whatever?
Yeah, exactly. Phil covered a lot of the great steps there. I would say the main thing that I always tell people is document it. Just like you said, you have 14 days now to see a physician, to go to a Med Express, to go to your chiropractor, to go to an orthopedic. If you don't do that, then you can't use your benefits. And that's the biggest thing. If I had to just say one step with everything that Phil had already said, would be just document it. And I've had, I guess, one of my first patients taught me a great lesson. This was about a little over 12 years ago. She was a single mother of 4, working 2 jobs. Like, I don't know how she did it. She's like a real life superhero. And I remember she came in, and to come into my office was like a very hard thing for her to figure out between her 2 jobs, her 4 kids. How do I go see this guy? And she really had some pain if she was coming to see me, and she had all those things going on. And I remember she came in and she had some neck pain and numbness in both of her hands, and she could not think of any injury. So I started scratching my head thinking, what could have caused this? And I said, well, like within the past year or so, was there ever like a car accident? I've asked her many questions at that point, and then I stumbled upon that one. And she's like, yeah, actually, I did get rear-ended at a traffic light, but I had to pick one of my kids up. She was very busy. She didn't have time to see anybody. And she's like, you know what? That kind of started this. And now it progressed to where my hands are numb, my neck's in severe pain. And it's been a year later. I said, why don't you go and try to see your, call your insurance, see if
you might want to try your sound's a little funny. Do you have earplugs? You might want to try maybe if you have earphones, and I'll come back to you.
Let me piggyback on what he's saying a little bit.
And can you also address too the 14 days? Because what does that 14 days mean?
So after a car crash, in order to use your PIP benefit, so when you buy auto insurance, you're required to purchase something called PIP, which is personal injury protection. Personal injury protection pays for the first $10,000 of medical treatment. Okay? But in order to use your PIP coverage, you're required to go see a doctor within the first 14 days. Okay? So if you don't see a doctor within the first 14 days, those benefits are waived. So we tell people, first question we ask is, were you involved in a car crash? Second question we ask is, when was the car crash? And if the earlier you see the doctor, the better. One, you're going to feel better. But two, when I'm negotiating with an insurance company, the first thing they will say is, Phil, how is your client saying they're injured? They didn't go see a doctor for 10 days, 11 days, 12 days. And I tell people, well, they have lives, they have kids, they have school. They didn't know they were in pain. This is all new to them. And the Progressives, the Allstates, and the State Farms of the world go, well, too bad, so sad.
Too bad.
That's the number one thing I can tell people. If you think there's even a 1% chance you are hurt, go see a doctor. Even go once.
Within 14 days. Within 14 days.
The sooner the better. Because typically, like I said, the pain will come on after the 24, 48, 72-hour mark. So what I tell people when they call is, go get checked out. What's the worst that happens? You go one time, you get a great adjustment with a guy like Dr. Todd. You're feeling better. The visit's paid for. You're done. There's no harm. But if you wait and the pain comes, then they're going to make it an issue, and they're going to offer you less money for your pain and suffering and your medical, because they look at it as that delay, meaning you're not really hurt, which is very, very unfair. And all the insurance companies do it.
Right. I want to tell you something, or actually ask you something. With the insurance companies, because following an accident, and this might be something you're going to talk about, they call you and they're recording the call. Do you recommend, after getting to an accident, is this an innocent call where they're just asking you innocent questions? Should you speak with them, or should you speak with an attorney first?
So the more and more Progressive is really doing this a lot, okay? They will call immediately following the crash, and they'll send you a link, and they'll say, hey, we're just getting your insurance information. Okay. And then someone will get on the phone, normally someone like you, very, very sweet, very, very nice. And they'll say, oh my God, what happened? Oh, I'm really concerned about you, blah, 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 blah. Oh, have you ever been in a crash before? Have you ever had pain before? You're not really in pain, are you? Don't go talk to a lawyer. We're going to give you some money. Everything's okay. And then they get the pit bull on the phone, the big jerk, the big bully. And they're like, we'll give you $4,000, take it or leave it. You're never going to get anything. And that's happening a lot. And the more serious the property damage, the more likely Progressive's going to call you, or Allstate or State Farm's going to call you right off the bat. They're going to try to get you to settle that case. I have an example of a guy who called me up. He's like, I'm about to cash the check for $4,500. Should I do it? And I'm like, take a deep breath. Tell me about your case. Yada, yada, yada. Fast forward 4 years later, that guy got a check for $450,000. And he was in a lot of pain. He needed 2 surgery. He needed shoulder surgery and a knee surgery. And he was about to take that $4,500 because he had no idea. He didn't realize what the claim was worth. So you should never speak to them. It is not innocent, and they're trying to lock you into information and potentially screw you in the future. And
I want to put a waiver in here too. Obviously this can't be legal advice pertaining to you. You got to speak with your own attorney or call the professionals here, obviously. But this is to open a conversation with your professional, because I don't want anyone to misconstrue it. For anyone who loves conspiracy theories, I will share something I've learned, which I probably shouldn't even be sharing. But also, when that insurance company calls you and they ask you those preliminary questions, can you just confirm your address here? And how many people are living at your home? Okay. You use the car just to go to work, or they're trying to see if you answer something that's different than what they have on file, different than on the application. Oh, you have extra people there? Well, we don't cover you because you didn't disclose that to us. So actually, we're not going to cover you now. Some of these insurance companies are doing that.
So the worst, the lower tier insurance companies, that is very common. They'll say something to the effect of, because you're just renewing online. Back in the day, you had to call your insurance agent and say, hey, Jamie, my son's 16. I'll make sure you add him on the coverage. Now you get a renewal from Progressive or Allstate or State Farm or Geico, and you just push a button. Renew. Well, your 14-year-old turns 15 or turns 16. They now get a license. They're not added on the policy. You get into a crash, they're going to deny you. So you're paying for all this insurance, and it's for not. It's for waste.
They'll send you a check back. They'll be like, here's your $300.
Here's your $300. We're not covering it.
We're not covering it.
Exactly.
How's your sound, Dr. Todd? Are you okay?
Does that sound any better? I can't tell on my end.
It's terrible. It's pretty bad. And I have some questions for you, but we'll see if we can get them in.
Okay. Can you hear me?
It's bad.
Hello?
Well, the question I had for you, maybe you can get this in through the sound, is, are you seeing patients now? Because that's one of the things I had friends ask me before, and if people are fearful of going into a doctor's office, because some people are still very fearful of going in, how can you come one-to-one with a chiropractor? Yes, but the sound's bad. But so how can they come meet with you COVID safe?
Well, yeah, you want to definitely make sure when you call a place to ask them what are they doing, what kind of procedures they're having. Obviously as a physician, you're taught to have really great sanitary procedures, obviously cleaning your tables, everything, your hands in between patients as always. But now we have masks, we have a air purification system that kills viruses within a 3,000 square foot radius. So those kind of things, you want to make sure that you are going to somebody that has that. That's what we've implemented here. And we don't have patients waiting. We're right on time. They come in the clean room and then they leave. So it's very minimal interaction with people waiting in the waiting room. I think a lot of the problem is some doctors double or triple book. So there's many people waiting in the waiting room. And I think that can be a problem right now. But over here, we don't do that.
That's very valuable. So people can call ahead and ask, what are the procedures you're doing? How's the waiting room? That's very good. And I think your sound's doing a little better. We got Abe Cardenas wrote, can we get a replay? This is a priceless session. So you guys are getting some love. If anybody, we have these two gentlemen helping, volunteer their time. So send them a thumbs up or show them some love. But maybe we could try a replay when the sound's good. So Philip, I didn't mean to cut you off. I know you were in your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things you should do after a car accident. So were there any more tips?
The last tip is don't do this yourself. Whether it's me or someone else, like the thing you don't get that people don't understand is that I try to tell them, it's like that show Antique Roadshow. Have you seen that show Antique Roadshow? Okay. Antique Roadshow, you have the guy that comes up and he goes like, I got this wooden box. And they go to the guy and the guy's like, well, what do you think the wooden box is worth? And they're like, well, I think the wooden box is worth $100,000. And the guy goes, ooh, I'm sorry, your wooden box is fake. It's worth nothing. It's worth $5. Do you want it? And they go, what do you mean? I didn't know. And then you have the other guy that says, I got this wooden box. And they go, what do you think it's worth? They go, $5. Like, well, actually, it's from the Byzantine Empire and it's worth $1 million. You don't know. You have no, this is what personal injury attorneys do for a living. You don't know what the value of your case is. And they are going to try to give you money right at the beginning. And they're going to lock you in. And Todd has seen it. I have seen it. Every personal injury attorney and every chiropractor has seen it. Someone comes in, they say, hey, I took $3,000 for my case, but now I can't feel my fingers or my toes are going numb or I'm having headaches or I have this TMJ or worse, I can't lift my baby out of the bathtub. And once you sign that release, you're done. So at least consult with an attorney. It's a free consultation. It's me. All personal injury attorneys charge free consultations. See what they have to say.
Right.
The worst that happens is they say, hey, you can do this on your own. You don't have a case. But you're almost always going to do better when you have someone who's working on your behalf in this arena, because you just aren't familiar enough with the value of the claim, and you're not familiar enough with the signs to look for, where you can tell your chiropractor, you can tell your orthopedic surgeon of, hey, I'm having this numbness in my hand. Well, as Todd will tell you, that usually comes from your neck, not your hands. So they get confused. They're like, well, I've been gripping a lot of things. No, you got into a car crash. Like, your neck is hurting because your head was whipped back and forth.
Right.
So it's really that. It's protect yourself. Do whatever you can. Call the police, go see a medical provider. Don't do it on your own.
I was watching, and I don't know if either of you have input on this. It was on the news. I'm not sure which. It was a major channel this past week, and they said, in addition to driverless cars, they are now putting semis, the huge trucks, on the road, including the Sawgrass. And they showed a video of a huge truck. I don't even know how many wheels. And they look in the window. There's no person in there. It was driving on our highways, no driver, no person. So the question comes about, it's cameras and it's automated and they're using these systems and they're testing them. They have, I forgot how many, 40 that are being tested now. And they're investing a lot of money to try to transition this next year. What do you think? I know this is not really happening yet, but what do you think if a car crash happens or someone gets hurt and it's involving a driverless car or truck? I mean, have you heard anything about this, either of you?
I have. And I know there are companies like Tesla and Nikola that are working on these things. And from a numbers standpoint, the crashes should go down whenever this technology is perfected. From a injury standpoint, when something goes wrong, it's going to be catastrophic. Because when you have a 6-ton, 7-ton, 8-ton truck on the road that malfunctions and doesn't brake and plows into a family, the injuries are going to be catastrophic. So that technology is happening, and it's going to be good for the world. But I feel like we're a couple of years away from that. But the number of cases will go down. The significant injury cases should go up.
They showed too the technology, and then I'll move on to another subject, but the computer screens, I mean, they could read the tags of all the cars from them. It was like they were reading so many things at once. And then someone said, well, what if the power goes out and you just have a police officer flagging people, go this way, go this way? Are they going to understand just human behavior? So that's something I guess will come more into play. We'll find out next year. And right, that Philip and Dr. Todd.
I don't think it's next year, but I would say by the time our kids are driving.
Yeah, and flying cars too. That's right.
Yeah, Back to the Future had us in those flying cars already, but I haven't seen them yet.
Yeah. Jane Jetson gets the money from George Jetson, and Elmo gets sent down. We're almost there.
And the other thing I wanted to ask is if either of you seen coming in the works of any kind of for Florida tort reform or changes in how you guys practice. Do you think that's coming up, or right now everything seems sort of the status quo or unsure? I don't mean to throw this question at you.
So tort reform is a bad word on the personal injury side.
Sorry.
It's tough because there are doctors and lawyers, for that matter, that are doing bad things, and there are juries that sometimes come back with wrong verdicts. So the counter argument is that people need to be protected, and in order to protect them, you have to keep people over profits. It's always people first. And when you loosen those standards and when you don't hold people responsible, then they continue to do bad acts. So tort reform, although they package it as that it's a way to save money, it's not a way to save money. The insurance companies are not reducing their fees or their rates as a result of changes. It's just more money in their pocket. But what it does do potentially is it erodes the rights of, John and Jane citizens. So for example, Uber. Okay. Uber is required in the state of Florida to have a certain amount of coverage. They were required to have $1 million of coverage. Well, now that's been changed. Now they're required to have less coverage. Well, why is that valuable? Well, because when they have a lot of coverage, it makes us feel safe that if one of their drivers crashes into someone or hurts me, I'm going to be protected. But what happens when that coverage gets eroded? And they say, well, it's too expensive to drive an Uber, so we're not going to require the coverage. And what happens when it's your mom or your dad or your brother or your sister who's involved in a crash and then can't go after Uber because the legislator said, well, tort reform is out of control and we need to control these personal injury attorneys. So I'm sure if you had an insurance, someone from the insurance company on here, they would say something markedly different. So it's an interesting debate. But the word tort reform, it's not as simple as just the personal injury attorneys are filing frivolous claims, because most of the claims are not frivolous. They're real people that are really hurt, that need the money to now protect them in the future because their life has been altered.
Well, I'm going to ask you, Dr. Todd, I call you Dr. Todd, a real person question. So, say, I'm Mary Lou, I just got in an accident, and I don't go to the hospital. I think more, I'm feeling more back pain, maybe neck pain, and I go to someone like you. Maybe I'm fearful because I don't know how I'm going to pay for this, like Philip was saying. And obviously people are fearful of the hospital expenses, this and that, but if you have to go, you have to go. 14 days. If they come to you, are they paying you? Are they looking to their insurance first? Do they look to, because I don't even know if their case is open yet. So do they look to their insurance to pay you, or it's just out of pocket? How does that work just for the regular person?
Well, usually the front office staff will handle that, and they'll check the insurance benefits, because every policy is a little bit different. So some people may have a little bit of a deductible nowadays with their auto insurance. For the most part, they're still like zero deductible, and the large part of the visit is covered. So a lot of the insurances do a really good job because they know that these people need care. So they give them a good amount. That PIP covers a lot of treatments because they know a lot of times if these people are not treated properly, it's going to become a chronic issue that later on is going to lead to surgeries and issues like that. So it's best to call an office, give them your claim number, and then they can check and verify your benefits because they're all unique to each person's specific case.
And if they come to you, how do you make a determination? This might be too hefty of a question. You're going, look, actually, this is too serious. This needs to go to be determined at a hospital, or yes, we can treat you here. What are the things that you look for to see if you can safely treat?
Well, we always look for any sort of red flags. If somebody has, loss of bowel bladder function, obvious things, severe pain, they probably wouldn't come in here as a first resort. But anything that's, when we spend the first visit doing 40 minutes of orthopedic testing and trying to kind of provoke the area to see what the diagnosis is. And from there, we might do some treatment too, some minor treatment to see how they respond. But for the most part, if there's any red flags, any numbness, any tingling, loss of sensation, severe pain over a 7 out of 10, then we want to get them probably to a walk-in, orthopedic or a MedExpress or an ER or something like that. But, definitely should be going to a chiropractor that wants to co-manage and refer you out if you have those symptoms. Right. If you go to a chiropractor that's not, then that would be a red flag for the patient.
And now I want to sort of ask you just a fun question outside of our topic today, but there's a lot of unknowns about, the practice of being a chiropractic doctor. And there could be other things that you treat besides the typical back injury. So can you just tell us briefly, I know there's a myriad of things that you should see a chiropractic doctor for. So can you tell us?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, and you can go on that topic for a while, but I guess to sum it down is that all chiropractors are different. As a sports chiropractor, we work on a lot of muscle injuries, so we can do a lot more than just a traditional chiropractor who's only working on your spine, because if you think about it, when you're in an accident, there's a lot of movement. You're getting whipped around, and you probably don't want a traditional chiropractor to mobilize your joints and make them more loose. So I would try to find like a sports chiropractor who can work on the muscles as well and things like that. Are you hearing me okay? Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no. And thank you so much. I'm sorry that you had the sound issue. It's good. So, and shockingly, more than half an hour has flown by here. So I like to do this. It's called Boca's Briefcase. And anything you haven't had an opportunity to share today that you think's of value, whether it's this topic or just to the community from your professional knowledge, what would you like to share? And I'll start with you, Philip, that you haven't had an opportunity to share today.
So I would just say that, speaking about chiropractic in general, oftentimes I'll have clients talk to me and I'll mention the word, I think you should see a chiropractor. And they some of them get a little gun shy. I've heard chiropractics is quacky and they're not. The chiropractors of old used to be, they go in, they crack your back, they say you need 100 visits, they show you the picture of the primate bent over. The newer chiropractors like Todd and some others, they're amazing. they're really caring. They're really holistic. They're trying to get you better. They have a real hope that they're going to be able to put you back to normal. And if they can't, they send you to someone who can. So after a car crash or any, you play tennis and you hurt your knee or your shoulder's been stiff, go check out a chiropractor. They're great. Find one that you trust, look at the reviews. And I think it's really unfortunate that they sometimes get a bad rap because they're wonderful doctors and they really do help people out.
And the same thing goes for lawyers too. Phil, like people are afraid, just like you said at the beginning, people are afraid to hire lawyers. I want to do it myself. I don't trust it. But honestly, I think at the end of the day, if you're using an attorney, you're using a doctor, you don't trust us, go to your colleagues and friends of people they've used or someone's recommended. And that's the best thing. I mean, you can always call. And the reason Philip Snyder's here today and Dr. Todd Rodman, they're here to share information with the community. So and they're going to tell us how to reach them in a moment. But if you have a question or a concern, they're here to answer those questions. So how do we reach you, Philip, if anyone has a question?
Go to my website, lsclawfirm.com. You can also call me. My number is 954-462-8035. But on the website, I created something called an accident Bible, which really has every question that anytime someone asks me a question that I haven't heard before, I throw it in the Bible. What do I have to do first? Why did this happen? Who do I see? Who's going to pay for this? So everything's there. So it's kind of a summary for people. So if you have any questions, go check out the website. A lot of information there for you to learn what happens in the event of a car crash.
Good. So with Phil, check out the website. Probably already has your question answered. And Doctor, so what would you like people to take away today? And I'm sorry there was like a brief sound issue, but you have the stage. What would you like to share with the community in terms of your own office, your own experience?
Well, the first thing I said is just make sure you document it. You only have 14 days to go into a physician. And after that, if there's a problem, you're going to be paying out of your own pocket for your care. And you should not have to. If you got injured from someone else's fault or even just in an accident, and if it was your fault, go see somebody that opens up the door for you to get the treatment you need, or else it's going to be gone and you won't be able to, and it'll come out of your own pocket. So that would be the number one thing.
And when you say document it, you mean by going to a healthcare professional, that's documenting it, like by actually going somewhere?
Correct.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. And how can people reach you? And I really appreciate you being on here today.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. Sorry about the sound issue. It was working good earlier. I don't know what happened, but yeah, Dr. Todd Rodman at aim.com. You can ask me any question, or if you want to schedule an appointment, you can give us a call at 561-313-9117.
Okay, I think this has been such helpful information. And just to summarize, some people have joined in later, but just remember, if you get in a car accident in South Florida, call 911, take pictures of the scene, go to a hospital or a doctor right away, or within at least appears 14 days. Again, this is not legal advice. Talk to your own professional, but this is a summary of what we discussed. And speak with an attorney and a professional doctor about what your next moves are.
One more thing that we didn't talk about. If you don't have it, look at your insurance policy. You should have uninsured motorist coverage. Okay, if you were involved in a crash and the person that hit you doesn't have adequate coverage, your uninsured motorist coverage will protect you. So call your insurance agent. You can call me, call anyone that knows anything about insurance and ask them the importance of uninsured motorist coverage. Make sure you have it on your policy. It's at least in my opinion, the most important insurance you should have.
And thank you both. I mean, you both have well over a decade experience. Philip, you've been working in this for 80 years. Dr. Todd.
I'm looking pretty good.
And Dr. Todd is he's been with FAU for over a decade and I'm helping them. So it's really impressive you guys are here today. Thank you so much for joining with the Boca Tribune. Remember, anyone watching, subscribe to the Boca Tribune so you get updates with all these type of programs. And next week, again, don't forget to join us. We've got different individuals from different businesses from around the world, Canada, France, the UK, and more, talking about a snapshot what's going on in their country with COVID right now, what their life is like with school, with business, with dating, with just going to the grocery store. So I think it'll be really interesting to see another country's perspective. Thank you again. Follow at Boca Raton Tribune, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.